Welcome to Master Your Money Mindset 2.0. Brain hacks for ease, abundance, freedom, and flow. I'm your host, Deborah Fryer, and I'm so excited today to bring you Gordana Biernat all the way from Sweden. Welcome.
Hi, Deborah. It's so good to be here.
Gordana is really an incredible light being, and you can see that even before we start this conversation. I want to tell you a little bit about her officially, and then we're going to actually get into the unofficial, because the land that we're really living in is the unofficial. We're actually going to have a conversation about the fake news that this is broadcasting versus the real news, which is the unofficial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the official, what you would like to know about Gordana, and then you will get into the heart space of what you really are understanding. So Gordana is, and let me just say before I even begin to describe, is that words are a very inadequate way of describing who we are. And that's really what the conversation is about. So I just want to put that frame around it, that I'm giving you a description that is even still a partial description of the fullness of Gordana. So Gordana is an amazing writer. She wrote this book, Know the Truth, Why Knowing Who You Are Changes Everything. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get this, and we'll tell you how to do that at the end of the interview. She is a wisdom keeper. She is a wisdom philanthropist. She is one of Oprah's Super Soul 100 teachers. She is the only Super Soul teacher from Europe. And she is just an amazing conduit of light, of philosophy, of conscious communication, of higher thought, of knowledge, of accessing deep wisdom that is coming through you, for you, from you. So let's start there. She has a master's in art history. She's also studied psychology, communication. She tweets so much, and you're going to want to get access to her Twitter account so that you can start receiving wisdom pretty much on the hour to help recalibrate you. Okay, so that's what I want to say by way of introduction. Good?
Such a beautiful introduction. Really good. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So let's start with I'm just going to just start with this. Know the truth. Why knowing who you are changes everything. How do we know who we are? I mean, this is like the question. Who am I? Why am I here?
Well, that is a very deep question. And I think that the easiest way to access that is to start doing what you love. Because the way I see it, all that is unconditional love. So this is our source. This is actually the essence of who we are. And then we are born into this polarity, this duality in this reality, and we forget that we are unconditional love. So in order to remember that we are unconditional love, we have to connect to that through love. So it's about looking for love and beauty everywhere. Even in the darkest of places, you have to find the love. And that's how you slowly but surely connect to the unconditionally loving source, which we all have. So the easy way to answer that question is actually if we start doing what we love. And it sounds easy, but then it becomes more complicated in this reality where we are, because we are presented with the negative all the time. And we have to look at the negative, turn it upside down to find the beauty and the positive things underneath the surface of it. And I think that's what we're all doing here. So that's my short answer to a very big question.
Let's talk about, I'd love for you to share how you got this information, because like all of us, when you were a little girl, you experienced a sadness and a feeling of separation and people not getting you. What happened for you that just opened this massive window to all that is?
Well, I usually talk about this specific moment in time when I was 11 years old, because that is actually when I truly understood that I am one with all that is. Even though I couldn't do it intellectually, I felt it in my body like a tingling feeling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my bed and I was bored, I couldn't go to sleep. So I tried to figure out where the universe ends. I tried to fly through the universe to get to the edge to see what happens when I reach the edge. But every time I thought that I reached the edge in my imagination, the universe exploded and I felt like, oh, new stars, new galaxies. It's infinite. So I was thinking, okay, so my mind and my imagination is infinite. If I go to the window and I look outside, maybe I could kind of sense where it ends, the stars and everything. So I ran to the window and it was February. It was cold and crispy outside. So I could see the stars really far, far off. I could see all the stars. And I was thinking, but it looks the same as in my mind. And that's when it hit me. It's the stars are made of the same stuff as my imagination. And I intuitively knew that out there and in here are one and the same. There is no separation between the two. But I was born into a family where I couldn't speak about these things, especially because I was a girl and girls shouldn't talk about philosophical stuff. They should be in the kitchen, cleaning, making food and stuff. So I couldn't speak to anyone about this. But it kind of changed everything for me. I saw the world in a different way. I understood people in a different way, but I couldn't share it with anyone. So that's what I'm doing at my Twitter account. I'm sharing all these things that I have been keeping in my mind for a very, very long time.
So beautiful.
Mm.
What you're really speaking to, I just love how it came out, was that in the beginning you were actually looking for a limitation, right? You were looking for,
Yes.
where's the edge? Where does it,
Yeah.
where do
Yeah.
I, where do I end? How am I being separate?
Yes.
And
Mm.
where does the universe end? You were looking for
Mm.
limitation. And then in that moment where you opened your eyes and you saw that was
Mm.
out here was the same as in here,
Mm.
you realized there are no edges. So you're not looking
Mm.
for the limitation anymore. What a beautiful
Mm.
shift in perspective.
I love that. It's such an insight to understand. I haven't looked at it that way, but that's a beautiful perspective to realize that you're seeking a limitation or a boundary, and then you realize there is no boundary. Because
Mhm.
what I used to ask myself is, where do I end
Mhm.
and you begin?
Yeah.
Because if you look at it from a quantum physics perspective, there is no border. I mean, I don't know where I end. I don't end with my skin. There's something
Yeah.
else going on outside of me. And my
Mhm.
heartbeats, I mean, they are felt really far, far away. And if I look at it from a spiritual perspective, I probably am all over the world. And so are you and
We all
everyone
are.
else. Yes, so that's why we are one. And I loved playing with those thoughts when I was a child. Even though I couldn't understand them, I was playing with them. Where do I begin and you where do I end and you begin? That was my main question.
Wow. Well, I have to share with you two things. I want to share with you two
Mm.
things. One is that when you just shared that, all my hair stands on end, and it's like this antennae,
Mm.
right? Like there's something beyond my skin that is.
Yeah.
I mean, the hair is actually the same cellular composition as skin, but it's like these antennae that are sensing
Mm.
more. And
Mm.
the question that is, where do I end and where do you begin? I think partly why I had all my hair stand on end is that
Mm.
years ago, it was 2013, and I was teaching a yoga class, and it was the end, and all the students were in Shavasana, the corpse pose, and I
Mm.
said, where do you end and where does the universe begin?
Mm.
Can you feel
Yes.
how you're expanding into that and where the universe is touching you? And at that moment, my father passed.
Oh.
In that moment, when I asked that question, he
Mm.
transcended his physical body into the oneness. So it just really, like, for me, it is a reminder of how we're so connected without knowing
Mm.
that we're
Mm.
connected until we realize that we are. We're always
Yeah.
connected. We're just not in the awareness that we are.
That's true. And I feel like when someone passes, they actually release the boundaries even more and they become closer to you
Yeah.
in a way. They become even closer because they're always with you.
Hmm.
When we are in a physical body, we have this illusion that we're not always together because when the body isn't here, then we're not together. But when someone passes, I feel that with my mother-in-law. I can feel her around me all the time. I've never been so close to her as I am now after
Hmm.
she's passed. And that's such a beautiful thought to have, that you know that they're always with you. And I'm not talking about it in a, the usual way that people say just to comfort you. I'm talking about it from a knowing, from
Yes.
something much, much deeper than that. And when you were talking about the hair standing up on it, I I have this feeling that every time I hear a truth,
Hmm.
like when I wrote my book, every time I felt a truth, all the hair was standing up like that. And I have a theory, because I think that when you come close to a truth is always very, very high frequency. It is
Hmm.
one of the highest frequency because it's so close to love and unconditional love.
Hmm.
And that frequency, that is what makes your hair stand on edge
No.
like
Hmm.
that. It's because you're feeling the frequency of it, and that's what it is. And I think that most people are so numbed down so that they don't feel it, because it's a subtle thing. And when you realize it the first time, then it becomes much more loud, so to speak. You can
Hmm.
feel it in your body much, much faster. And it becomes like a GPS for me. I know that, okay, so this is the right path. Every time I feel it,
Yeah.
I know this is the right thing. I need to probe this, go into it, look at it, to find the goodies in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really get that with the tingling feeling.
Mhm. I call those truth bumps instead of goosebumps. I
Yes.
call them truth bumps. So you
Yes.
just touched on something that is really important in this conversation
Mm,
about money mindset, because we're really not talking about
mm,
money. We're talking about your availability to receive all that is,
mm,
and your availability to do that happens by way of you syncing up with the frequency of that thing
mm,
that you are wanting. And you
mm,
talked about truth being the highest frequency. So let's kind of go
mm,
around the vibrational scale of
mm,
truth, love, fear,
mm,
struggle. A lot of people think it's going to have to be really, really, really hard, and struggle is a low
mm,
vibration. So I'd love for you to
mm,
share more about frequencies and how do we get stuck, which is just a
mm,
perception that we're not
mm,
really, but
mm,
just share more
mm.
about frequencies and how do we play with them.
Yeah, I think that what sometimes makes us stuck is that we are using words in the wrong way, and they have, everything is energy. So the only thing that separates me from you is the frequency. That separates water from sand, it's the frequency. So if we use words, and the words have some kind of frequency around them, then when you say, I'm struggling with this, that is the frequency you're putting out there. And the
Hmm.
universe goes, oh, so struggle, that's what you want. So it
Right.
gives you back the exactly same frequency. And the way I see it, I know that law of attraction talks about pulling things to you, like um, law of attraction, you are attracting things to you,
Hmm.
which means that there is a movement. You need to do something in order to get it. But
Hmm.
I don't feel that it is that way. I feel that you get what you emanate from within. So you
Hmm.
have to be the specific frequency, and then it matches out there, and there is no movement. It just clicks like this.
Hmm.
Nothing is pulled to you. You are actually allowing it through you into this reality.
Hmm.
And that's the difference. So when you know that, you also understand that there is a paradox. You can't have what you don't emanate. You have to be it before you are receiving it.
Hmm.
And when it comes to money, it's really hard to do that, because how do you send out the frequency that you have it when you don't?
Hmm.
So you say, I need money. Then you use the word need. So the
Hmm.
universe gives you back need again.
Right.
And it's a vicious circle. So we have to become more conscious of how we use the language when we are putting out our wishes out there. We have to start thinking about what we are telling ourselves from within and what we are literally manifesting with our words. So I
Mm.
think that a lot of people get stuck. They think that, oh, but I'm wishing this so much. I want this so much. I'm telling the universe what I want and sitting like this. This is what you'll get back. It will mirror your exact frequency. So
Mhm.
you have to do it with joy. You have to start look. That's why I'm talking about looking for love. The universe will give it back to you in any shape or form. It's up to
Mhm.
you to realize that you're getting what you ask for, maybe
Mm-hmm.
not in the shape that you asked for it, but maybe in a better shape. So that's why we need to be awake and present in every single now moment, because it is always mirroring our frequency. So I know it sounds easy when you say it, and it should be easy to do it, but I think it's all about being more in tune with what you're saying and what you're really wanting.
Mm.
That those two are kind of overlapping each other. I don't know
Mm.
if it makes sense to you, but that's, I feel that we need to become more authentic with ourselves. We need
Mm-hmm.
to become more connected to the love and authentic. And then that is what will be mirrored back to us. We don't have to do anything actually. All we have to do is to start aligning with the unconditional love and looking for it everywhere, and it
Mm-hmm.
will appear to us. So that's the abundance we are looking for. We're actually not looking for money, we're looking for the abundance that is freedom and love and
Yes.
unconditional support. That is
Yes.
what we're looking for,
Yes. And
only we're
it's,
dressing it in other words. Yes.
yeah, well, it's such an inside conversation, isn't it? Because when
Yes.
we're putting out there, well, I need this,
Mm.
what you're telling your subconscious mind is, number one, I'm needy. Number
Yes.
two, I don't have it. And I expect
Yes.
you, outside external thing, to
Give
give
it
it
to
to
me.
me.
Yes.
And the big disconnect is that there
Mm.
is nothing out there that is not right here. So
Mm.
you are the answer. You are the source of the thing that you are
Mm.
wanting. Whatever is missing is
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yes, it's always because it is a reflection. It's like looking into a mirror and saying, I will not laugh until that mirror laughs. But you have to do the laughing
Right.
first and it will laugh back to you. So if you smile, the mirror will smile. But most of us are doing this. We are looking angry into the mirror and saying, I'm not getting what I want. Why isn't this mirror smiling at me? It won't, because what it does, what the universe or the quantum field or God, or call it wherever you will, source, what it does is it mirrors back to you exactly what you are
Mm-hmm.
putting out there. And it does so because it loves you unconditionally so much that it will respect your free will. That
Mm-hmm.
is why we have free will. You are the one with your will and action and your desire. You are actually expanding the universe. So the universe is just waiting for you to say, this is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say this is not what I want, it is listening to that too, because that is your frequency and it is giving you back your frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is where most people do not understand this, because when you're in a state of need, when you're in a state of worry, you are sending out frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're getting back will not be what you want. So it becomes unconscious for you. You ask yourself, why am I getting this back? Because this is not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes like the universe is giving me things and I need to cope with that. The universe doesn't like me. Why is this happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you start daydreaming, you're sending out frequencies exactly as when you're worrying. You're sending out frequencies, and the universe goes, okay, I hear you, here you go. So it gives you what you're daydreaming about, and you go, wow, it's a miracle I got what I wanted. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same process. It's just the difference is that you're sending something consciously out when you're
Mm.
daydreaming, and you're sending something unconsciously out when you're worrying. And most of us are unfortunately in the worrying mode all the time. So that's why we are presented with a universe or a reality where we don't understand whose reality it is, because
Mm.
we are not aware of that we are sending that frequency out there.
Mm-hmm. That's
That's
such a,
the paradox.
yeah. And the thing you just said, whose reality is it? Like, this is,
Yes.
I love this philosophically and energetically, because
Mm,
it's such a lotus that just keeps opening and opening. So whose
mm,
reality is it? And
mm,
who is doing the thinking and the
mm,
perceiving and the
mm,
sensing?
mm,
Is it me? Is it the universe animating itself through
mm,
me?
mm.
Whose reality
Well,
am I buying into?
yes, and that is a very, very intelligent question to ask yourself, because your frequency is always dependent on what you think, what you believe, and what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So if your thoughts are habitual thoughts that are based on your beliefs, which probably are not your own because your parents and school and society has told you who you are and what you want to be, then your feelings will match that, and the universe will give you something that is actually not yours. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing the thinking, but it's not connected to who you are and your desires in this reality, because we're conditioned away from this. School does that, and work later on. Society tells you all the time who they want you to be.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody asks you, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
I remember as a child, I was so afraid of one question when the grown-ups would come and they would say, so who do you want to be when you grow up? And I go, can't I be myself? What are every grown-up, are they not themselves? Why do I have to become someone else? I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't grasp this. It was really hard for me to understand, why do I have to change? I am someone. Why do I have to change later on? But they're only mirroring how our society is working, because it needs citizens that are um, average, that are compatible to all the boxes we have in this society. They don't need free thinkers, because that is interrupting the energy the way it is. So when you ask yourself, whose reality am I creating? Because we are all co-creating this reality together, and we
Mm-hmm.
kind of have mutual belief systems that we are perpetuating by believing them. But they
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be that way. We can always ask ourselves, is this really true? Is this serving me? Can I change this to the most common things like age and work and that kind of things? So
It's
from I yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
on.
No, go
No,
ahead.
no, no, go ahead. No, I was thinking those things have been preoccupying my mind in my grown-up life, to actually scrutinize my own beliefs and ask myself, is this my belief or is it someone else's? For instance, just asking myself, where does an apple come from? Sitting down and asking myself, there was no apple here 1 month ago, and now it's an apple. If I would speed up the time, I could literally see the magic trick that the universe is doing. So asking myself, where does it come from? Or asking that kind of questions.
So
We
let's
don't have
follow
time
that
to do
thought.
that. Yeah.
Where do you think it comes from? You share where you think, and then I'll share where I think, and I bet it's the same.
It comes from the source. It comes from the desire, nature's desire to express itself in this reality. This apple wants to express itself in this reality, and it comes into my reality because I want to look at it. There is a desire for me to enjoy an apple, so it comes into my reality. It is magic. It really
Mm-hmm.
is. I mean, I could explain it in a biological way, minerals and earth and water and photosynthesis, whatever. But if I look at it from a spiritual perspective, it is nature's way of expressing itself. And that's why there is an apple.
And you see what you're looking for, right? How many people
Yes.
walk right by a fruit tree
Mm,
and it is heavy with apples,
mm,
and they just walk right on by because they're whatever, looking at their phone, or they're focused on where they think they need to
mm,
go, and that's just not even in their awareness.
That is true. That is true.
Mm.
What I usually talk so much about that to stop just for 10 seconds and look at something. Give it your full attention and nothing else. The questions pop up in your head at that time. They usually do that. That's also what I mean, that we should, or should is a wrong word. We would benefit a lot from becoming more like children,
Mm-hmm.
because that is what children do. They do ask those questions that actually broaden your mind. When my son was, I think he was 4 or 5, he asked me, why does the sun rise every morning?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a beautiful question. It took me a long time to answer it. I mean, what would you answer a 4-year-old? Why does the sun rise? It's
Are you
not
asking me that?
how.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm asking you, why does the sun rise? Why do you think the sun rises?
Well, it's funny that you ask that because 2 days ago I was sitting on a beach and I was meditating at sunrise. And I was asking
Mm,
myself that same question, why is the sun rising? And what I realized is that it is me, the sun is where it is. And it is
mm,
that the earth is actually physically uh, turning itself toward the light. So my perception of it rising is because I am orienting toward the light. That's what
mm,
I, that's what came through the other day.
mm.
And
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful thought that you're looking for the light.
right.
For I had to think a lot before I answered my son, and I told him that it is because it is giving you a new day. It is
Mm,
giving you a new opportunity. It is giving
mhm,
you a new breath, so to speak.
mhm,
It is giving you new life every single day. And he
mhm,
just bought it like that. Oh,
mm,
that's great.
mhm,
He felt it because it's about the opportunities. It's about not staying in your past. It's all
mhm,
about being in the now moment and rising with the sun and experiencing new things because you do not know anything actually. And that's the belief systems I was talking about. If we stay in our belief system, every day becomes the same, it becomes
mhm,
habitual. But if you ask yourself, why has the sun risen today? It has risen today because it wants you to fill this day with
mm,
your desires, with your feelings, with what you want to explore. It is a new day for you to explore. It's a gift.
beautiful. There's
And if we,
so many ways I want to go with that. One
yeah.
of the things is um, that there is no past and there is no
Mhm.
future. There is only the now. And I'd love you to speak into this of how we
Mm,
create the past with the way we frame it and think of it and tell
mm,
stories about it. And same with the future. Would you just speak a
mm,
little bit about time and
mm,
how we are very powerful co-creators of our experience in each moment?
mm.
Because it's all related to the past and the now and the future, the past and the present
Y-
and the future.
Yes, because there is no past unless you think about it. And you have to do that in the now moment. You can't do it yesterday. You have to
Right.
do it in this moment. So you are recalling pictures of something from the past, but it doesn't exist per se. You can't, it only exists in your mind. And so does the future. You can just think about the future, but you can only do it in the now moment. So when
Hmm.
you look at it, the only place where a future can be launched or a past be remembered is in this
Right.
now
Now.
moment. So
Hmm.
that's why I feel that the now moment is everything. So if the now moment is primary, then the past and the future are secondary. And why is it so? It is so because they are not set yet. Even the
Yes.
past is not set yet because
Right.
the past is supposed to be used as fuel from the future to launch a different,
Hmm.
from the now moment to launch a different future.
Right.
And that's why I feel that you can go back in your memories and look at them and find the things that will give you the right fuel to launch a future that you want. And I've
Hmm.
been doing this a lot because I had a not so good childhood. And sometimes when I looked back before I realized that the now moment is my point of power, I could see myself as a victim.
Hmm.
And the way I looked at myself from the past launched a future of victimhood. I
Hmm.
couldn't, it's like being locked into something.
Hmm.
And the moment I realized that if I go back in the past and look at myself from a different perspective, I saw a little girl that was not victimized. I saw a spirit. I saw a strong, stubborn little thing doing whatever she wanted. Only I forgot that because I was so into the victim state. And
Hmm.
when I saw that, I saw, okay, so I have these abilities. This is who I really am.
Hmm.
And once I saw that, it changed everything for me in the now moment. And it also changed the way I presented myself to the future. So that's why it's so great to use the future and the past as tools in
Hmm.
order to be who you truly are in the now moment. And I look at time in not a linear way, because you can go back in your past in not a linear way. You can jump
Hmm.
where you want and use what you want because it's yours. It's like a
Yes.
treasure. You can just go back there and use what you want in order to launch something to the future. And that's also not linear for me. You can jump back and forth like that, and it all happens in the now moment.
So
So I don't know.
empowering.
Yes, I mean, how do you feel about time? Do you feel that there is some truth in that when I say that there is no past and there is no future? It's actually now and what we do from this now moment.
I completely agree that it is
Mm,
this now that is creating the next and the next and the next. Every vibration we're putting out now and how we're
mm,
feeling is that that source that is creating the next. And I think
mm,
this ties into the conversation about why is the sun rising. If we look
mhm,
at our past as dark or scary or anxious or victimized, then that's going to, and we bring that into the present, that's just going to create more of the same, because
mhm.
we are um, this is like we're Xerox machines, or
Yes.
we're
Copy
making,
and paste.
right,
Yes.
we're copying versions of
Yes.
ourselves. And when you
Mhm,
realize that, like, what are you copying, and why did you
mhm,
make that up? You could orient towards the light. You could rewrite your past. You could
mhm,
reframe your past. Whatever happened, we'll put that like that,
mhm,
in air quotes. And even those words to say, well, this happened to me, is a very
mhm,
disempowered way of
mhm,
saying, this is the experience, and this is the story, and this is the meaning
mhm,
I'm making of it. And the story and the meaning that we make of it will color that experience as
mhm,
something that creates pain and anxiety and suffering, and actually closes
mhm.
down our frequency. It helps us vibrate at a
Yes.
lower
Mm,
frequency. And then we bring that into what's next.
mm.
I think
Yeah.
that the past is a very it's powerful, and I love that
Mm,
that we can jump back and forth, because that is exactly what kids
mm.
do. They're not
Yes.
bound by the limitations of time. And
Mm,
grown-ups are always like, come on, we got to go, we got to go. And I know I fall into this too,
mm,
that I measure how much have I accomplished by a certain time,
mm,
because that's part of what I'm doing here as a spirit and a body having a human
mm,
experience, is I'm
mm,
bumping up against
mm.
limitations so that I can
Yeah.
know more of who I am.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I feel it's exactly what it is. It's about understanding that nothing is written in stone. It is not that rigid as we are taught, that you can play around with those boundaries any way you like. I mean, you can't erase a memory because there is facts.
Hmm.
Something happened to you, and
Hmm.
you experienced it in a specific way. These were the people around you, or this is the place where you were. You can't change that because that would be to lie to yourself. But
Hmm.
what you can do is to look at your experience that moment, because whatever happened to you, you are actually sitting here remembering it, which means that you survived it.
Right.
So you had to be strong in order to survive it. And you
Hmm.
have to look for the strength wherever it is. It can
Hmm.
be a very, very small spark of strength lying beneath layers of fear and other things. But if you can just find that spark
Hmm.
of strength, because it is there, otherwise you wouldn't be here thinking about it. So every single memory you have, even if it's a horrible memory, you will find a spark of strength,
Hmm.
power, truth in that. And that's what you're looking for. That is how you use your memories in order to launch a bigger you, or the you that you want to become. And I know this by experience because I have a lot of memories that are not the greatest memories in the world.
Hmm.
But every time I do this exercise, I go back and I look for the strength. I find it every single time,
Hmm.
because what you look for, you will find. That is a
Yeah.
universal law. That
Yeah.
is a universal law. So it's simply there. It's just, it's like going on an exploration. I mean, to the mountains. I'm going into my memories and I'm
Mhm.
going to find the best parts of it. And
Right.
I'm going out there with my treasure. Always, 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 I come out with the treasure and I can use that later on. And that is why I feel that my future is being created from a positive vibration. And that
Mhm.
has not always been like that. I have been creating the way you described it. I mean, copy paste the horrible things
Mhm.
and staying in that and not understanding, why can't I move away
Mhm.
from this?
Mhm.
And the reason is that the universe wants you to look for the good things because
Right.
they are there. That
Right.
is what it is. You have to realize that even in the darkest of hours, there is always something that you can pick out and say, okay, so this is the spark. This is what I take. Even if you have to forget 99% of it, take that 1% of spark with you and it will empower you.
It's so true. It's like I like
Mhm,
to say the universe is a university, and you take a
mhm,
class, and if you didn't learn the information, you get to do it again. It's like the universe keeps
mhm,
knocking and says, well, would you like some more of this? Would you like some more of this? Because until you get the
mm,
gold out of it, you
mm.
haven't
Yeah.
gotten the message that is here for you. I love
Mm,
what you shared, that when you realize that you are bigger than the thing that you thought was going to stop you, it's
mm,
so empowering, because
mm,
as we're all growing, we're all expanding. It is in our biology. It is
mm,
how the universe herself is, she's in this constant pulsation of ever
mm,
expanding. We're
mm,
always greater than the thing that we perceive as the limitation.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
important.
always. And this is also how the universe expands, because as we were talking in the beginning of our interview, and I was talking about looking at the stars.
Hmm.
It is my realization that the stars and the universe is infinite because my imagination is infinite. That is actually what expands the universe. Every single experience is valuable to the universe because it collects experiences. That is the expansion of it. It collects every single experience we are having, all of us. So we are free to choose if we want to experience something bad or something good or something neutral or not experience. That's also an experience. The universe just keeps collecting that
Mm.
because it is information. This is why we are here. I am all that is experiencing itself as Gordana Biernat and her desires here. And why am I that? Because all that is bored when it is not experiencing anything. And it is
Mm.
not experiencing anything unless it is focused into a subject, a subjective perspective.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's stillness. It's not doing anything. It's really boring. So it has to project itself down to Deborah or Gordana or Max or anyone else
Mhm.
in order to experience something new. And that is how it expands. That is how it feels joy. That is why the universe is expanding, I think,
Mm.
from a
Mm.
spiritual
Mm.
perspective.
Do you think we're starting that? Well, we're
Yes,
co-creating that. Yeah.
yes, not just we, I mean everything. As we said, an apple,
Right.
nature expresses itself by giving you an apple or
Mm.
two or 10 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
So that's an experience. The animals are doing the same thing, only we are maybe more self-conscious about it. But I
Mm.
think it is for the joy of exploring and experiencing. That's what it's all about here.
Mm. So beautiful. I could talk to you for a really long time, but I want to honor your time and the time of
Yeah.
our viewers. So,
Yeah.
for those of you, you can obviously see who are watching what an incredible light and a source and
Mm,
just a wisdom generator. She's so, I can't even say plugged into the source, because she is the source, accessing the source, co-creating with the
mm,
source, and that's available to you 24/7. So we want to share some resources with
mm,
you for how you can do that. So will you share, Gordana, how people can participate in your Twitter wisdom, and how they can
mm.
get this way, how they can get Know the Truth,
Yeah.
so that they can
And
have
Know the
access to
Truth.
more of you?
Yes, Know the Truth is everywhere, online bookstores. You can buy it everywhere, Amazon, everywhere.
And we'll have a
And
link
if
below
you,
too.
yes, and if you want to really see what's going on in my head, then my Twitter account is like an oracle, synchronicistical oracle for people to just dive in and find truths about themselves and the world and universe and everything. So it's at my Power Talk on Twitter.
Hmm.
that is where they will find most of my thoughts. That's where
Hmm.
I start off with my thoughts. I share everything I think about there.
It's so great. So we encourage you, go click on the link below,
Yes.
and there you'll find a link to join the Twitter stream. And it really is live streaming consciousness is what it
Yeah.
is.
Thank you. Such a
It's just,
beautiful, such a beautiful description of that. That's how it
it
feels. I feel that I'm live streaming my consciousness
is.
all the
Hmm.
time there. So
And
please
that's how
do
it feels to be
meet
on
me
the
there.
receiving end. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful wisdom and your presence and your light.
Thank you
Blessings.
so much for having me, Deborah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. Thank you.
Mhm. Beautiful. Thank you.